Welcome to Youth Voices of Greater Cincinnati. My name is Annette Bowling, and today we have a very special guest, Chris Burns, who is a marketing and education manager of Encore Technologies, which is a local tech company located right here in Norwood. So let's get started, shall we?
Sure.
How long have you been working for Encore Tech?
Encore started officially as Encore in January of 2016, and I started at that time. We merged with another company called Encore Technologies, which was strictly focused on Apple services, but now we do Apple services and HP and a lot of other Windows and PC based. So I've been there for 4 years and a couple of months.
Nice. What are some of the things you do for Encore Tech as part of your job?
My job is really, there's 4 areas. The first one and most important is marketing person. So my job is to keep the salespeople out in the field selling. So they come to me when they need collateral, what we call collateral, it's marketing material. If we go to shows, which we do a lot, and have booths like we do at the high school for Career Day, we have booths where we share information. So basically the material that I write is focused on that audience specifically, so we don't run out 100 copies of a lot of things. We want to focus it exactly on that audience. So we also have radio ads and a few other things, social media. So that's one part of it. The next part of it is research. So I read a lot of trade magazines and a lot of information on IT because it changes so fast and we have to stay up on top of it, and I have to understand it as a marketing person. So I don't have to get deep, so I'm not technical very much, but we have to be able to talk about it. So those are 2 of the things. Another one is education outreach. So I work with Norwood Junior High, come into their IT class. I work with the high school in Career Day, and we have an adopt-a-class with one of the elementary schools not too far away.
The elementary school would be Norwood View Elementary School,
Okay,
right?
yeah, in Carthage.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we try and work with the schools at the different levels so that we can get students interested in IT at an early age, because we have a huge shortage in Greater Cincinnati alone. We're 10,000 jobs short in this area, not jobs, but people.
Wow.
So, and Ohio has 100,000 overall that pay over 50,000. So we need to get people trained to fill the jobs that are out there. That's a critical need in Ohio and Kentucky. So I'm involved in that as part of my education outreach. I go to Columbus and Frankfort, Kentucky to advocate for more funding for things like early childhood education, workforce development, the right kind of training to get people to fill the jobs that are needed, not only in our industry, but healthcare and other industries.
Without these jobs, what is missing in Encore Technologies, for lack of a better word?
You mean what kind of jobs do we hire for?
Yeah.
Mostly tech. So we're looking for people, I'm guessing somewhere in this room where you see all the lights and everything. The technology, I'm guessing there's an access point for wireless in this room, and we install those. Without that, you can't use anything, whether it's your phones or iPads or whatever. You can't use that to get out to the big towers. So somebody has to install that access point. That talks wirelessly to a router somewhere in this building as well, and that router then talks to that tower. Well, somebody has to install all that equipment, the hardware, and understand it. Then somebody has to set it all up with the software and set the controls up. So there's people that do the hardware, people that do the software, the actual networking of it together. All of that are specialized skills. Also working on other hardware that we sell, HP, Dell, Apple, and others, as well as software, iOS, Microsoft, and others. We need people that do all of those things, as well as cybersecurity. So we actually provide a whole range of IT industry information services and hardware to the companies that we work with.
Great to know. What do you like about your job?
I would say that the 2 things that I enjoy, I love working with people. So I'm on various teams within the company, and I walk around and ask questions so that I understand the text better of what we offer, services and product-wise. and I like doing research. So it sounds like those are kind of opposite, and they are, because one's solo and the other's team. But I'm ADD, so I need to be working on different things at different times. And it works for me because I know when my mental high time is, and I know when I need to be out walking around and talking to people.
Encore is located at Norwood. How does it reach out to the community?
Well, we reach out in several ways. One of them I talked about earlier with the education. We want to make sure that Norwood students, where we work, understand who we are. So we work with the schools at every level. We offer tours for the students to see exactly what we do, how we do it. They can meet us. So we do that hand in hand. We work, we're cyber experts, so we work with different various departments if they have questions about it. We have cameras literally all the way around the building because we have a very secure data center inside it. So, you know, if anybody walks, drives, or whatever, anywhere in range of those, we more than happy to help the police out, and we have several times in the past.
Yeah.
So we want to be very good corporate citizens. Also on our website, under community involvement, we have probably 16 different nonprofits that we work with as well, not only in Norwood, but in other areas of Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky.
Nice. What are some of the companies or buildings powered by Encore Tech?
The companies we work with a lot of healthcare. In fact, every major healthcare provider in Cincinnati is a customer of ours. An example would be Mercy and Christ, several others, as well as the finance and insurance industry. Western Southern, Ohio National, Fifth Third are examples of that, and the next largest would be retail. So Kroger, Macy's, Big Lots. So those are, and they're all big, as we call, enterprise customers, because that's mostly who we deal with. We deal with a few education here and several in Kentucky as well.
Seems like a lot of companies you work with. Is it hard to keep track of them all?
Well, I don't have to. Some people internal do for billing purposes, but it's all done on software, and much of it's automated. We have a team that is an automation and what's called DevOps, which is short for Development Operations. That's a new term in the IT industry, and it basically combines those who develop a product or service and those who operate it. So generally those are two different sets, right? Those are the people before and after. Well, you combine those in the beginning so that everybody on both ends understand how it's being built, why it's being built, and how it's going to work. So that leads to automation. So a lot of what we help companies with is to automate things that are repetitive. And a lot of people are afraid of that, but we need people down the road that can really think and that are creative thinkers. And that's where the job market's going. Everything that is repetitive now will be gone within a few years, everything on the low end. So people have to be aware of what to get educated with, and that is critical thinking skills, teamwork, communication, and those type of things that we call soft skills.
Oh, it's really insightful. What are some of the requirements for any positions at Encore Tech?
That's a good question. There's really a breakdown of 3 different things that you would need to get a job at Encore or in our industry. I would say the first one are certifications. And all of the major hardware and software companies have different certifications, or we call them certs. Okay, Microsoft, Dell, HP, Apple, all of those have tests that our techs study for and then take the test, and they have to get a certain grade, very similar to what you're going through right now at Norwood schools, at every level, right? Once they get those, they're certified to work on that particular piece of equipment or software or networking or whatever it is. That's the first thing. So you don't need for that, you don't need a college degree, but we also hire people that have computer science degrees and or cyber security or some other type of IT degree as an associate or a bachelor. So those are the 3. You need at least one of those 3, certifications, associate degree or bachelor degree, or a combination of those. And after that, then you get experience in the industry, and that's generally when we begin to hire people, after they have a couple of years experience.
Nice. Um, is there any other sort of prior knowledge or skills required to work at Encore Tech?
The ones that I talked about before, good work ethic, come to work, come on time, do your best when you're there. If you don't know something, ask a question, because I'm sure your teachers have said the only dumb question or stupid question is the ones that don't get asked. So don't assume. So our people are very good at that, and they have great ideas themselves. So we have two ears so we can listen to them, and we get better by doing that. So that's one. The second one is communication. Our people have to be able to communicate either verbally or written, and that could include text and email, right? They have to be able to do that, or we don't understand, and our customers don't understand. And the third is teamwork. We have very few jobs that are solo, where somebody sits at a desk all day and just monitors something. We have a couple of people like that, but out of 180 people in our company, there's only a few. Everybody else, some way, somehow works as a team on something. So those are the three important things that, again, we call the soft skills, and be creative and be able to think outside the box, as we call it, and on their own.
Wow. What training have you had for your role for Encore Tech before you were given it?
That's a good question. I started out in journalism, so I learned to write concisely and clearly so that people could understand it. Then I went to work for a government grant called School to Work in Northern Kentucky for 3 years. When that grant ran out, I went to work for CBTS, which is owned by Cincinnati Bell. That's another IT company, and worked first on competitive bids, and then into marketing. So the areas that I mentioned to you earlier that I do for my job, I learned in all of that capacity.
Can you go more in detail about the School for Work that you mentioned?
School to Work was a government grant to help get students interested, and not only interested, but educated to be able to take jobs either right out of school or go on to college and be successful, either way. Today, and this was in the late 90s, so you're over 20 years ago. Today, if you only have a high school degree, you're going to be pretty much, unless you're an entrepreneur and create your own company, which is going on, but it's a minority of people that are doing that. You need some type of post-secondary training, whether it's trades, IT, or something else. Doesn't have to be college. It could be something military, right? Police academy, etc. But it has to be something, because again, all the jobs that are on the low end, repetitive, are all going away. So what we did with School to Work is we brought educators and businesses together and sat them down at a table to help them understand each other, so that the businesses could tell the educators what they expected out of their graduates. So then the teachers could go back, update their curriculum, and make sure that the students had some type of real life training with projects or something, co-ops or internships or something, shadowing, so that they could understand how to apply what the teachers were teaching. And it was really important then, and it's more important today.
That sounds very amazing. Do you know if I'll be looking forward to this in my high school years?
I would think yes. The amount of project-oriented or experiential learning, they call it, is critical, so that you understand how to apply let's say the math or the chemistry, all of the formulas, whether it's algebra or calculus, whatever, trig, so that you can apply all that and know how to do it, as opposed to just on a board somebody writing down the formula, right, in a numerical way. And then how, when you get a job outside of here or go on to college, you know how that applies to the real world, and not just in theory, right?
Yeah. Who inspired you to choose this field, if anyone?
The IT field, I'm outgoing, and I love to write and read and learn. So when School to Work ended in late 90s, I knew I was going to have to find something else, and that's when the president of CBTS had an opening for a bid writer, a competitive bid writer. So basically, companies put out bids. Norwood School puts out bids for work that they need. Well, if it's IT, we could bid on that. And if we win, we would obviously be the vendor that would serve Norwood from an IT standpoint. That's what a competitive bid is. So I began working on that, built a team. We were very good. We would win close to 40% of the bids that we applied for, where the industry standard is 20. So 1 out of 5 is the standard. We were winning 4 out of 10. So it's still under 50%, but you focus on the ones that you can win, and we don't focus on what we don't think is competitive to us. And that was important. So that's why I got into the IT industry. So I've been there for 20 years now.
Wow, that's really interesting. Where do you see Encore Tech in the next 4 years?
At least double the size. We have about 185 people at this time, and we did about 115 million last year in only 4 years. So we're growing incredibly quickly. We did 77 million in 2018. So our growth rate from 18 to 19 was almost 50%. So we expect to be over 200 people, I'm sure by then, could be 300, and probably well over 200 million by that time. It could be over 300.
Wow.
So we're growing considerably.
What are some of the parts of your job that you would consider challenging?
The biggest part is probably what the most important is to keep our information updated for the sales team and be able to help them at a moment's notice. So if they're going to meet a customer and they need information, we don't just like to put something in somebody's hands that is very high level and focused for the masses, right? We want to make it, as I said earlier, we want to make it focused on that audience. So if it's healthcare, for example, we're going to talk about how it's going to help the doctors and the nurses and the administrators serve their customers, which of course are patients. So we're going to have an image that's related to that, and the language is going to be related to that. So our goal is how can we help them serve their customers, whether it's Kroger, whether it's Mercy, whether it's one of the schools. We always look at the back end of how we can help them, because if we can help them serve their customers, they're going to win, we're going to win, our people are going to win, everybody wins. So that's a challenge there. Another one is to keep up with all the research, because our industry is changing so fast that it's really difficult to stay on top of all the things that we do. So those are probably the two most challenging parts to the job.
What would you say, on average, is the time that it takes to complete tasks, whether that be writing software or developing hardware for any building?
You mean for me particularly, or for the people in the company?
Either, really.
Well, for me, since I do a whole a wide range of jobs, it could take anywhere from an hour if a sales rep needed information to either research or write. And if we update our marketing material, which we are getting ready to do, that's going to take weeks or months, because we're going to we have 13, if you go out on our website at encore.tech, you'll see 13 different services. Well, some of those we need to update, some of them we don't do anymore, some of them we do more of. And when we do that, the vice presidents are going to have to be involved, the subject matter experts are going to have to be involved, and I'm going to have to be involved. So that's going to take a lot of time to rewrite or create what we don't have yet, to do several drafts, and then to write a final draft, send that out to some of our customers to make sure that that is something that would hit them here. Marketing today has to hit you emotionally, it has to hit you in the heart, right? Not just up here. Yeah, you might need something at home, you need a refrigerator, right? I mean, that's a refrigerator, you only have so many choices, right? And you only have so many places to go. But if you want a computer, if you want a phone, if you want whatever, why is Apple better than Samsung, better than a Nokia, right? And on and on. You have multiple choices of that and multiple choices of what provider. whether it's AT&T or Verizon or one of the competitors there. So you're going to buy something because of what you feel about that. Will you like what they're offering, or you like a person in an ad, or you like the company because you know they're focused on something that you also believe in? That's the new marketing. So we have to catch them somewhere on the journey between the time they try and figure out that they need something to the time they actually buy it. And that's what we call the journey, the sales journey or marketing journey, right? And we have to figure out where to plug ourselves in on that journey, how to do that, because it's a different, at the beginning, it's a what we call 50,000 foot marketing, right? Once they get past that and they want to decide which water to drink, then you're down to 30,000 feet. Do they like the bottle? Do they think it's better water? Does it have chemicals in it? Is it really out of a spring, etc.? Then you go down even lower. What does that company do? What's special about CBTS or Encore rather? Take the CBTS out. I worked there for 15 years, so that's why sometimes I forget that. Anyway, so once you get down to that level, you have to really answer detailed questions, and that's what our subject matter experts are good at, is understanding how to differentiate Encore from our competitor. And that's the key to getting the sales. And they do that for a multiple of reasons. So do they like the community people that we deal with? Do they like the salesperson? Do they like our product over something else, etc.? There's a lot of reasons why you buy what you buy. So we have to be able to plug ourselves in on each one of those, sections of that buying process.
Seems really interesting. Sounds like the whole little community of Encore Tech is sort of linked together. Everyone's helping everyone else.
Absolutely. We are very much a family, and we look at that as a family. Each section has their own right, and they're even a micro family, so to speak, of what we do. But everybody understands what everybody else does as much as you need to, and as much as you have to be able to work with them. But we like bringing different people together so that they understand how we are cohesive as a team, right? Even if one person does staffing, we have a big staffing organization, and on the other side we have people that answer phones for our customers, right? We have a network operations center. So they all have to understand and work together in order for the company to work well. And we've learned how to do that pretty well. There's always challenges to that because of timing and understanding different technologies, but you do it the best you can.
Nice. How is information documented and shared throughout Encore Tech?
Face to face, because we still believe in that first. And that could be on over conferencing, okay? Conference calls, voice, text, or email. So those are really the ways we communicate. But as far as data storage and that, we keep that in a secure center. All of our data is in a very secure location that I can't really say. But not only them, but our customers as well. So that's that. Does that answer that question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I understand. What are the company's goals for the future?
To continue to grow and to really become Greater Cincinnati's highest quality IT company, IT provider. We don't have to be the biggest. We don't have to be the fastest. We don't have to be any one thing. What we want to be is when our customers and potential customers need a service, they look to us because of the quality over quantity.
What part of your job do you like the most?
I would say two things really: being involved in different aspects the 4 areas that I work in, because again, being ADD, it's great to have different things to work on at the time, depending how you feel. If it's not a deadline, obviously, I can work on different things the way I want to work on them, and working with people. I work with different teams. So in marketing, I have a person that's really good at social media. So she helps us with LinkedIn and Twitter. And those are really the two that we do the most. A lot of LinkedIn, not as much Twitter, because we're business focused. We want to stay business focused. And that's what LinkedIn is mainly. So we also have somebody that helps me with the radio ads. Have somebody else when I'm working in the marketing and the documents that's good and creative at creating the documents. Once we have the language and the content down, we want to create a look and feel that's really cool to our audience. That's a different set of people. When I work on the committees for education, when I go to Columbus and to Frankfurt, I'm on committees of different people, different businesses, different nonprofits, different educators that are all coming together, bringing our ideas there and deciding what to advocate for that's most important to all of us, that's going to help the community as a whole. So those are the things really that I like about my job.
Nice. What does success look like in this position, and if there is a way, how do you measure it?
That's a good question because there's not really a set schedule. First and foremost has to be marketing and helping the salespeople, right? With giving them material that leads to a sales deal, whatever they ask, and getting it quickly in their hands. That's success, number one. I guess number two, working with these teams of other nonprofits and businesses and educators on advocating and getting more money from Columbus and Frankfurt, state funding into education. When we win, which we did in Ohio because the governor, DeWine, understands exactly the needs that are important in the communities, and the legislature. I gotta give them 100% credit. We're in excellent shape in Ohio from a standpoint of IT and technology. We're in great shape. And he understands it, and so does the leaders in the legislature. So that's a huge success from that standpoint, because now we can get people trained, and there's incentives for companies to get trained. They announced last fall, as an example, a program called Tech Cred. In other words, technical credentials. Okay, that's an acronym kind of for that. So what happens is when we train somebody, we can get reimbursed for that training if it's for one of the jobs that is really needed in the state of Ohio. So there's a new website on this, and the Lieutenant Governor, John Husted, is in charge of this. And it's worked, it's new, so we don't use it as much because we don't spend the high dollars on training a lot of times, but other companies can get up to $2,000 per person to get the training for their people. Well, better training is better understanding of the industry. It's more money for the workers. It expands the amount of services and the levels of services you can offer. So it's a win-win because the more money we make, the more money we pay to the state. So everybody wins when that happens. Another one is Ohio Frontier, or Third Frontier rather, that was started actually by former Governor Kasich. And that's a lot of money that's funding startups and IT jobs in the state of Ohio. So Ohio's really on top of it. And it's great being able to work in a state where they understand your needs and they help you get to where you want to go.
Could you offer specific details on your position's day-to-day responsibilities?
I guess an example would be if we're getting ready for a show, which we are in the state of Kentucky right now. The largest education conference is going on right now, last night and today, all day, and we have several people down there and tables handing out information. So we had to create the booth. What are we going to have there in terms of content, in terms of a pull-up that we have for our company, in terms of giveaways, because there's a lot of teachers like giveaways. So we have what we call a stress cloud because we're a cloud computing company. So they're little stress things that have our name on it, and they're in the shape of a cloud. So we call them stress clouds. Pens and other things that are giveaways. That all, we come together a few weeks prior to that and try and figure out what's the best approach. Again, comes back to who's the audience, right? And what are they going to like? What's going to hit them here? So we work with a team, as I was talking about before, an education team. They understand the audience. In this case, I do because of my background in education. So we all put together our thoughts and we come out with some great ideas to go forward with. Another one is when we get ready, as I was talking about before, to put the new marketing material together. That's going to take a lot of time. So we're going to have to plan it, figure out which services need to be updated, which ones we don't do anymore, and which ones are new. Then we have to meet, and I have to get and organize that and figure out what our planning schedule is. And then move on, take notes at each one of the meetings, put it together, send it back out so that a week or a month from now when our next meeting comes, we're ready to do that and they understand what was discussed and what was the action items that came out of that last meeting. So there's two examples. Again, it's different. I'll spend an hour searching our vendor websites for ideas and updates. So whether it's HP or Apple or Cisco or whatever, I'll spend another hour on another day looking at our competitor sites so I understand how they're approaching marketing and what they're doing. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what I do every day.
Yeah. What is your team's greatest accomplishment, in your opinion?
Well, there's various teams. As I talked about before, I would say that obviously the team that's marketing focused has to be on the success of our sales guys. Are we getting in their hands enough so that they can sell? And when they sell, we're all successful. Because if we don't sell, we can't do any of the other things that I've talked about here today. We have to have revenue in order to do that. So that's number one. Number two, I would say what we've done at the state levels in Ohio and Kentucky's not over yet. The General Assembly's still meeting. But the budget that came out from the House of Representatives has more funding for some of the things we called for, so now it goes over to the Senate. If they approve it, the governor, we know, will sign it. So that'll be a win and a success for us. So each one is kind of different, just because it's so varied. It's comprehensive, and you can't put in one bucket to analyze that.
I can understand. It sounds like a pretty spacious work environment.
It is. There's a lot going on in the company. We're growing quickly. Finding good, talented workers is a big challenge of ours because of the need I talked about before. So that's, again, why we work with the schools to make sure that students understand that there's IT out there. And by the way, IT is the highest paying jobs on average other than being a medical doctor. So if you come out, just as an example, with a cybersecurity degree from UC or Northern Kentucky University, you're going to start here at $80,000. If you go to the coast, you're making double that. Now, the cost of living's higher, but you're going to make well over $100,000. And even here, because we have such a need of security people, even on the low end, you're starting out at somewhere around 40,000. So you're close or at a livable wage in the IT, and the average is probably 60 to 70,000 in this region for an IT job. So that's why we try and get people into it. And one of the kind of misnomers is that you have to be technically minded, engineering, right, math and science. Well, that's not always true because somebody had to design this bottle before the engineer could actually build it, right? And design the pieces that you poured that plastic into to create that. So we need people that are creative, that can think these things up outside the box, because our engineers are not like that generally. They are within a certain range of their skills, but we need people that can think creatively. And so it's important. You keep hearing the term that's called STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. I like to add an A to it, and I've seen some people do it, so we call it STEAM, because the arts is really important for not only our company, but the whole industry. So we like people that are right brain and left brain that can work together, because you get something greater than the two separate
Exactly.
people together.
I can understand that. What benefits and perks does the company offer just to its workers or customers in general?
Our workers and customers will be different. Our employees, we offer health care, insurance, life insurance, and disability insurance, vacation or time off, a 401k, which is a retirement account that we match up to a certain amount, time off for having baby or parents being ill or something like that, family leave, and flexible hours, flexible in depending what your job is and who you work for. You could be working, from noon to 8 or from 7 in the morning till 3. Most people are 8 to 5-ish, but we do have people in our network operations center that work at night, because that if somebody calls from overseas at night, it's the morning there, right? So we have to have people 24/7. And the other one is remote. We have several people that live in Columbus. We have people that live in Louisville, and they're out on the road or they're working mainly from home. They come in about every other week. So there's a lot of flexibility in our company, and we like that. We're small enough and we're nimble enough to change quickly, and we like to have people that want to work for us because they want to work for in a great atmosphere and with other people that are really good. So we offer them pretty much, we don't care what they do as long as the job gets done. There's no time clock unless you're hourly, but most of us aren't hourly. So, I can come in an hour late, I can leave an hour early, whatever I need to, as long as the job gets done. If I have to work on a weekend, I answer phones on a weekend.
Wow, seems really flexible. What does it take to be a top performer in the company?
Well, from the sales, it would obviously be to sell as much as you can, to get long-term contracts, as opposed to just selling a piece of hardware, and to create a partnership with that customer and not just have a vendor customer relationship, to have a true partnership. And that's what we like to do. The CEO of the company has been doing this for 35 years. So he has come up with several people who are either department heads at these major organizations I mentioned earlier, or actually CEOs of some of these companies, and he knows them very well. So they know that they can call him on a Saturday night if something happens, and he'll pick up the phone. That's the relationship that we have with the big customers, and that's what you need to be successful. So that is how we, as a company, spell success, is having happy customers, that even if something goes wrong, we're there to help them fix it. And they keep coming back to us again and again. That would absolutely be a success for us.
Wow, I think it's really insightful how you see it like that.
It has to come down to that, and that's what everybody is on the same page when it comes to that. We can do all these other side things, but in the end, we got to make the customer happy. If they're happy, they win, we win, our employees win, and then if you have a win-win-win, then that's success.
Wow. And finally, is there anything else you would like the audience to know about Encore Tech?
It's a great company. As I said earlier, we're growing. We're now open an office in Frankfurt. So, our headquarters is right here in Norwood. We love Norwood. My mother's family is from Norwood. They grew up right up on Indian Mound, and lived here for quite a few years. So we have been involved in Norwood since we worked back in CBTS, and I think we moved here in 2000. So, we've been in this area for 20 years and seen it change drastically in the last 20 years, all pretty much for the good. The diversity of companies now is great. The housing, especially coming from the Oakley side over this way, is great. People that we know moving here. Some of our employees are moving here. The schools are competitive, so we like being here. It's a central location, and that's why we're here. You know, you got I-71 right there, I-75, Norwood Lateral. You can get downtown in 10 minutes. You can get to Kenwood or Mason in that within 15. So it's been great, and we have had great relations with the Norwood council and the mayor. The former mayor, we haven't, you know, the new mayor has only been there a few months, so we really haven't had that much relationship with them, but we will at some point.
Nice. Well, that's all really interesting. Thanks for being here with us.
Sure, thanks for the invitation, and again, did a great job, and we're looking forward to keep working with Norwood Schools.
I'm glad. My name is Emmett Bowling, and thank you for watching. Until next time.